Okay, so Club Cs are over. What do we do next? I know that everybody kind of rides that high about practicing and playing and making sure they get their game ready for club championships. And then once club championships rolls around, it's very hard to kind of stay motivated, be able to keep progressing towards getting better. And you hit that high, and then as soon as club C's over, everybody kind of starts to fall back a little bit. So today we're going to be discussing 4 ways that's going to allow you to have more fun, be able to work on your game, and ultimately just keep the high rocking all the way into the off season. So welcome, joined here by Logan again. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about that. So number one, what's number one?
I think number one is you got to start to change things up. You know, the pressure's off. We just played a stroke play tournament.
Yep.
You're getting ready, and it's a grind. For myself, I had a couple bad holes just ruin the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to change up the format. If you got a group of buddies you normally play with, go play some match play where it takes the pressure off every single hole. Play a scramble, play just sort of one of these different formats, I think, that, like, what would be some of your favorite formats?
Yeah, I mean, I personally just love fall golf. I love pants, love the quarter zip. I love the temperature. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. So for me, that's my favorite time of the year. And ultimately, it switches more or less into some more team events, so team golf. And I'm a huge fan of team sports. And although golf is a very individual sport, having the ability to play with your buddies without the pressure of like, oh, I have to score on this hole, having the ability to play a 2-man, 3-man, 4-man scramble is a lot of fun, in my opinion. It takes a lot of the pressure off, and it still keeps you kind of in the game.
Yeah, and one other format I know I played a lot last year with my group of friends. We'd have, anywhere between 6 and 12 guys come out on a Tuesday night. We'd play. It was called the 1-2-3 or the 3-2-1.
Okay.
So you'd have a team of 3 or 4 guys, doesn't really matter. And so on the first hole, 1 score counts. So you take the best net score.
Gotcha.
And then on the second hole, 2 scores count. And on the third, 3 scores count. So on that third hole, you could either do really well if all 3 guys shoot like a net par or a birdie or something.
Yeah.
Or if they all make like doubles, then you could so it keeps it exciting till the end, even if one team is like way ahead, right? And obviously you can play with 2 different threesomes, 2 different foursomes. So it's very flexible that way, as long as you have 6 guys or so.
No, that's actually a really cool format. I know that there's a ton of games. I know you can play Wolf. I know you can play Scrambles. I know you can do your match plays. Like I know for me, I have a couple match plays coming up in the tail end of the season, and all the match plays and coming up. So what would you say was like, I know we're kind of shifting topics a little bit, but what would you say was like maybe one of your biggest takeaways that you could look back on for Club C's? And it's like, does that translate into like, okay, am I going to work on this in the off season, or are you going to work on it now?
Oh, I see. It's just like maybe something that I need to work on from the club championship. Yeah, it's tough to say. For me, I had like 2 bad holes on day 1 in particular that kind of blew up my game. And I can't really say why. I just had some bad ball striking on those holes. And I think once it came back to the regular golf, like 2 days afterwards, I shot my best round ever, 71.
Massive.
And that was super fun. I was like chasing 69 for most of the time, honestly. And I don't know, it was maybe just because it was actually in a match play event, so there was that weight off your shoulders, and like maybe you're not worried about blowing up the whole game as much. And that's where I think these games make it so fun too, where it's like if you have 1 bad hole, it doesn't ruin your whole weekend, right? Which is just a nice change. So.
Totally. Yeah, I know that tournament golf plays a big factor when it comes to how you actually play. Get a little bit tighter, swing gets a little bit tighter, you're not fully committed. So it's Club C's is a good opportunity to kind of get your feet wet in what would be like the version of competitive golf. It's totally different. You think different, you play different, you feel different. So it's important to kind of continuously put yourself in that situation in order to get better. Because if you just think that you're just going to practice and play and get better over time, like there's a massive, massive experience level when it comes to actually improving at that aspect. So that's why I love that side of competitive golf, because just for that reason alone.
A big takeaway for me was just I didn't really have the nervous shakes or anything this year. Like my putting was really good in Club C's. My chipping was very good. Usually I can get some yips and stuff. I was very calm. Heart rate was low, which is a big thing for a lot of people to get nervous. But I've been playing in a lot of events this year. The one that got to me actually, and I realized, is just I got stiff over approach shots, which is usually my favorite shot.
Interesting.
And I wouldn't just be loose and let the club go. And that's what I really focused on a couple days after when I shot that 71, was just kind of like swing it like Freddie or let it go. And that helped. So yeah, I just got to play more of those situations and you get better at it, I guess.
Well, comment below what's the biggest struggle for you guys in Club C's, and maybe we can support and make a video on that for you guys as well. So number 1 was changing the format. That was the big one. Number 2, you said was going to be actually working on your game. So taking away what you took away from Club C's now, having a couple blow up holes, like what would you say would be the biggest focus? Maybe it's swing mechanics, maybe it's mental, maybe it's chipping, putting. Like what would you say is like the biggest thing to work on?
Yeah, for me right now, my personal one would be the driver. That was one that if I got sort of out of play off the tee, it really hurt the rest of my game. And then definitely like letting that club release. We've been working on my game a lot, and there's a lot of mechanics that are really good. I'm hitting most shots better than I've ever hit them.
Nice.
I think it's just really getting it down and tightening those things up, figuring out how to make it really repeatable so I don't have to think about it. One thing in tournament golf, like a Club C, is you get under these pressure situations and you obviously revert back to whatever is most comfortable for you, right? Like if you're on the 18th tee, you can't just try and swing a draw if you're like super nervous and you normally hit a cut or something like that.
Right.
I remember Nelly Cordo was talking about, she swings down on the ball.
Yep. Yeah, she has a very negative descent.
Like a couple degrees down on the ball. But she's like, when it comes down to the end of a tournament, the last few holes, she's like, chasing the lead, in the lead, whatever. She's like, I'll start to swing like 6-7 degrees down on the ball because that's just her comfort zone. She'll tee it up lower, move it back in the stance. So I think a big part of it's actually just learning like, okay, we've been working on these other things all year. Now under pressure, like what's the shot I can really just rely on? It doesn't have to be pretty, just has to get you out there. And so that's something that I would like to work on next.
Yeah, I know that's something that I work on with my clients as well. There was I have a decent amount of competitive guys that want to do well in Club C's, whether it's net Club C's or stroke play Club C's, whatever it is. And you got to have something like off the first hole if I'm really, really nervous. And I tell them like, listen, like what's something that you can rely on, whether it's a long iron, whether it's driver, 3-wood, and then on top of that, like what's the shot shape you can rely on, right? Is it like the thing about pressure situations is like it doesn't have to look pretty. So if you hit like a 40, 50, 60 yard cut, slice, whatever you want to call it off the first tee, but it's going to move that much, you can play for that. Right. So it's like it doesn't have to look pretty. It's like just get off to a good start down the middle, or at least like have the ball flight do something crazy. But as long as you know what it's going to do, you can play for that.
Yeah.
Right. So I know when it comes to like working on that type of stuff, it's super important to have something under pressure to go to. And like you said, like Nelly has that like really low trap, negative descent with driver, and it stays on the ground nice and low. Right? Yeah. So it's not going to get like crazy wayward offline.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be spinny, land soft.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you have something, and then if you miss it, it's more in play. It's more in play than anything else. I think that's super, super important when it comes to working on what you need to work on.
Yeah, and I want to add one last thing before we move on to the next point. A big part of this is like, you might have been playing a bunch of golf preparing for this tournament thing. You don't have to go out and play 18 holes or 9 holes anymore. Like you can go out there and just, if you want to go to the range, some of the most fun I've had is just actually chipping in my backyard.
Yeah.
Just go out there, throw on some music in my headphones or your speakers and just chip it around for like an hour or something and just have fun playing it. You don't have to be like scoring well or something. And just getting those touches in is going to make you better while not like actively always having to like be totally grinding or something.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. So keeping it fun is one of the big things. I know that if we want to continue that, number 3 was actually keeping the stakes fairly high.
Yes.
So there's a couple different personality traits when it comes to, or not even personality traits, but when it comes to where you want to go with your game, there's an opportunity where you can either keep the high running after Club C's and you start continuously playing events and you continuously keep the high, or you're playing and you're betting against your buddies. And that to me is one of the bigger things that you can learn about yourself. It's like you may lose money, you may make money, you may do whatever, but having something to play for is always like, I don't like to not play for anything anymore.
Yeah. Even
if it's with you or it's with Branson or it's with Ben, like I want to play for something, because if I just step up there and we're just like playing to play, I will automatically lose focus. And that's not to say like I'm a full degenerate gambler, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to make sure that I have something to play for, because when I finish, I'm always going to make sure that I take something away and I learn from what I've essentially fucked up on the golf course, right? Is it like, hey, like, did I hit a couple knockdown shots that like weren't really ideal? Did I miss a couple putts under pressure? Did I lose a couple tee shots when I was down in the match? Like those things matter, because you can take that back to your coach or even just overview yourself and figure out, okay, like out of those couple mistakes or mistakes that I did make, what do I need to work on? And sometimes losing money helps with that.
Yeah, it's just something on the line, right? The other day I played a little 9-hole match play. Like we were just gonna play a round of golf. Now it's like, hey, you guys want to play for $5? Just like match play, and it's like that $5 or play for a beer, something like that can really help. A mentor of mine, a very good golfer, was struggling with his putts 10 feet and under, and he just felt like he was getting the yips. But in order to practice that, obviously, if it doesn't mean anything, you're not putting yourself under that pressure situation. It's not going to help you. So he would just straight up say, if I miss this, I'm going to give you $5. If I miss this putt, I'll give you $10. And he'd be playing with like 2 or 3 people. He would like give them all $5 if he missed the putt. So it puts something on the line to try and make him make that putt. And I want to share a really cool game actually with putting that I learned from some golfers that were better than me. This one's called Shazams. So Shazams is one of my favorite golf games. And the great thing about it is it translates to any handicap level. Like you could be playing with a high handicap, a low handicap, because the players decide sort of like how this game goes. So I think the actual like original ones played a little bit differently, but essentially it's a putting only game. So it just focuses on your putting. And if you take the length of the flag stick, the putt has to be outside of that length to be eligible for this game. So if it's inside, it just nothing happens. So say you've got a 15-foot putt. We would predetermine an amount for the bet. So it's say $1. If you're outside of that flag stick length, you can try and drain the putt. And if you 1-putt, we all are going to owe you that $1.
Gotcha.
If you 2-putt, nothing happens. But if you 3-putt, then you owe all of us $1.
Gotcha.
So that's the simple version of the game. If you want to take it a level higher, you can actually sort of do a betting. So every putt outside of the flag stick's automatically worth $1.
Gotcha.
But we can bet, we want to say $2 because we think you might 3-putt. And then you're able to bet it up, actually $3, I think. And you can go all the way up to like $10 on a putt. It's a really fun game. It focuses on trying to make the 1-putt, but also avoid the 3-putt. It's that great balance, the perfect balance of strategy where it's like you want to be aggressive, but not too aggressive where you're going to risk a 3-putt, you know?
No, absolutely. That's really, really cool. One of my favorite games to play is Wolf. I just started playing it earlier this year, like more frequently, and it's just there's so much strategy because everybody's still involved. Where there's variations of how you play Wolf, but we did it where we always had to call it in the air, and then on par threes you had to call it. I believe you had to call it before they even hit the shot. So it made it even harder. So if you normally some guys will play it where they wait for the ball to land and then pick their partner and then play in, and then obviously you have the ability to go alone. We've played it a couple times with Branson and Ben, and he's gone alone and wins the whole thing. It's especially on par threes, it makes the most sense because if you hit a good shot and it's in the air, and you know it's going to be good, you want to go alone. And the other guys miss the green, like you're going to make back a lot of cheese.
Right, that's pretty cool.
So it's pretty cool.
That's
so fun. I like I said, like I love team golf. I loved it in college. I loved it in high school. I love the aspect of like the Ryder Cup, but I also love the aspect of the individuality of the game. But I think when it comes to that high coming off of Club C's, I know that some people just like to semi-pack it in for the rest of the year, right? It's not... it's not the time to lose focus, essentially, right? We still have so much to play for, so much to practice for, and if you're looking to actually improve your handicap, like this is now the time to sit back, reflect, okay, what happened during Club C's? How did it go? What went well? What went poorly? And then reassess, go to your coach, or even if you want to self-assess yourself and start creating a game plan for the off-season so that you can start playing more when the season rolls around. Like my biggest thing is like a lot of guys will wait until the season starts, figure out what's wrong and with their coach or with whoever they see, and then start to implement some sort of a plan moving into the season. And by the time you start to get it or it starts to click, Club C's happen, and then you're under this pressure situation. And then once you're finished there, you feel like maybe your work either paid off or it didn't pay off. Maybe you give it enough time, didn't give it enough time, and then you run off that high and then you start all over the cycle again. Right? Where it's like, okay, like let's take now as the opportunity to figure out what went well, what didn't go well, reassess, create a game plan, and then work on it in the off season as much as possible so that when you do get to the season, you don't have to focus on all of this mechanical stuff. You can just focus on playing golf rather than playing golf swing.
Right. That's huge. Okay. We ready to move on to the fourth point here?
Let's move on to the fourth one.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so we're back. Number 4, this is the biggest one because I know a lot of people coming off Club C's, they have this huge high, and I put a lot of pressure on themselves to maybe start practicing again and start focusing on what they're focusing on. But the biggest thing is it's okay to take a break.
Absolutely. Like you did just grind. And you know what? For myself this weekend, I'm going to a country music festival.
Let's go.
We didn't play any golf the last couple of days. Just take a little weekend off and get hungry for the game again. I think come, Thursday, I'm going out west and I'll bring the golf clubs and it'll be just a lot of fun to kind of do that again, but also kick the feet up and
chill a little bit. I know for me, if I have like a big event, like I have a big event coming up this week and regardless of what happens, like normally even just taking like a few days off, 3-4 days after grinding every day and focusing, like golf's a very mentally taxing sport. So whether you think that you're not affected, like your CNS is going to take a hit.
Absolutely.
So what I like to do is sometimes whether I'm playing well or playing poorly, if I'm really playing poorly, sometimes just taking that week off just to kind of reset, get rid of all the demons and the thoughts and stuff is a super, super good way to do that. And then even if you play well, it's also an opportunity to celebrate your good play and make sure that you're giving yourself that opportunity and that grace to you don't have to be there every single day grinding, because at the end of the day we're not trying to make the PGA Tour here. We're just trying to play the best we can and have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, I think a couple of things happen too. You're going to give your muscles some time to rest, maybe go try another sport, like play we were playing some pickleball recently, and that was kind of fun. It still has that athletic competitive side to it, the coordination and all these different things, but it just freshens it up, right? So you give your muscles some time to rest too, and you might even find when you come back, it's fresh, it's exciting. You look at the course a little bit differently, and you might even play better if you take 5 days off, a week off.
Oh, it's true. I don't know how many times I've taken like a week off and I just come back and stripe it and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened those 4 days that needs to change? So that's going to be it for us today, guys. So like we said, just a little recap here. Change the format, take a little bit of a break, maybe keep the stakes high, focus on what you need to focus on. What was the fourth one?
You could work on your game too.
Work on your game a little bit, yeah. So make sure to keep in mind, choose one of the 4. Don't try and do all 4.
Yeah.
Make sure to give yourself a break or continue to play at that all-time high. Let us know what your favorite one is in the comments below. And as always, we will see you for the next one.